All right, boys and girls. Today, our learning target is I can identify when the author is telling a story and giving information. Let's try saying that together. I can identify when the author is telling a story and giving information. So, good readers are able to identify when the author is telling a story that is not real and when they are giving information. A fiction text is not real and from the author's imagination. So, you know what? I brought over a text. Do you remember this one from earlier in the year? Yeah. So, Yum Yum was not a real story. Okay, so this is my fiction story, and it means that it's not real and it's from the author's imagination. I'm going to put that right here. A nonfiction text is about giving information that is true or factual. We will work on this today. And so now I have our penguins text. This was real, right? It was true. They are real. It had facts about penguins. Remember we learned about the types of penguins, baby penguins, where they live. So this was real. So can we say, so Yum Yum was fiction and it was not real. So can we say fiction? Fiction. And penguins was nonfiction. So that means that it was real. It was true facts. So can we say nonfiction? Nonfiction. So I'll leave these here, and I put those labels on there in case you would want to use those words nonfiction or fiction today. Okay. We are going to read this passage from the text together. And while we're reading this, I want you to watch me think about, and I want you to be thinking about, is the author telling us a story or are they giving us information? Okay? You can read with me or you can listen. But the bus driver was not in his seat. I paid my fare and looked around for him. There were lots of passengers, but their faces weren't familiar. I started to ask one of them if I was on the right bus. But before I could, the door closed and the bus pulled away from the curb with no one in the driver's seat. The sudden start sent me reeling down the aisle, and I landed in a seat, holding on for dear life. None of the other passengers seemed to notice anything was wrong. "Stop this bus and let me off!" I shouted. I want a bus with a driver. So I highlighted two parts here. I highlighted the bus pulled away from the curb with no one in the driver's seat, and I want a bus with a driver. I'm thinking of when we went on a bus, and I know that a bus cannot drive without a driver. So I have two sentence starters here for you to use today, and one says, I know the author is telling a story because, and one says, I know the author is giving information because. I'm going to choose this first one because I know that buses cannot drive without the driver. So watch me use this. I know the author is telling a story because buses can't drive without a driver. Okay? On the next page, you are going to be deciding if the author is telling you the story or giving you information. When an author is giving us information, I want you to think of what you know to be real. We know lots of things about Rosa Parks from our text, and in social studies we learned about certain things that were different during her time than today. Okay? So let's read this together. When Rosa was 6 years old, she went to school. Her school had 50 to 60 children in one room and only one teacher in 9 months. So I want you to look one more time at this highlighted part, and it says, her school had 50 to 60 children in one room and only one teacher. I want you to think, is the author telling us a story that's not real right now? Or is she giving us information? With a neighbor, two things. You can choose to use one of these sentence starters. So I know the author is telling the story because, or I know the author is giving information because. And let's look over here. You can say, I agree with you because, or I respectfully disagree with you because. Okay, turn with an elbow partner and talk. Go ahead, Serenity and Talia, go ahead and talk, and Danica and Bray. What do you think is happening?
This was real because way back in the day, black people and white people did not get along. And so they were in separated schools.
And look at that highlighted part. It says her school had 50 to 60 children in one room. All right. Listen, listen, listen. All right. Who can tell me what you are thinking? Was the author telling us a story here, or were they giving us information? Marcus?
They were giving us information.
They were giving us information. How do you know?
Because when we read the book, it said that there was only one room for black people, and now it's giving us more information because we know now that there are only 5 and 6 years.
50 to 60 children in one room. Okay. Who agrees with Marcus? Ebony, do you agree with Marcus? Why do you agree with Marcus? How do you know that the author is giving us information? Yeah, I remember reading that too. Okay. All right, you can come ahead and read with me. By the time the talking bus reached my school, my head was crammed full of all the things that had happened. When I got up this morning, little did I know that I would be attending Mrs. Park's birthday on the very bus she was arrested. So, as we're reading this, were you thinking that the author was telling us a story or giving us information? I want us to go back and look at the highlighted part. At the time what kind of bus? Talking bus reached my school. And when I got up this morning, little did I know that I would be attending Mrs. Park's birthday on the very bus she was arrested on. So think about that. Did this really happen, or is this the author telling us a story or giving us information? If your partner says something like, this was real or this was not real, things that you could ask additionally are, why do you think that? Can you elaborate on the reason you're giving? Or what evidence can you find to support your opinion? I'm going to put this over on the board with our two sentence friends. All right, so go ahead with your partner. I know the author is telling a story or giving information.
I know about the offer is, I know the offer is going information because
What makes you think she's giving information on this page?
I think he is like,
All right, waterfalls. Waterfalls. So on this page, this part of the book, when it's written, by the time the talking bus reached my school, and she talks about waking up this morning, getting on a bus, and having a birthday with Mrs. Parks. Was this part real? Was the author giving information, or was this a story? Talia?
Real.
Real. Why do you think it was real?
Because
Why do you think this part is real?
How do you know that it's not real? What did we say was meant to be?
It's fake. Okay, why do you think it's fake?
What did you say about the bus, Julia?
The bus.
is it talking about?
The talking bus. And have you ever met a talking bus? No. Damaris?
I know why there's no such a thing as a talking bus because it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
They're not real.
Right.
So you agree with Julia?
Bray.
It's half real and half fake.
This page or the book?
The book.
The book, yes. Give them a thumbs up. I'm going to give you your writing, and it's the same page we just discussed. It says, read the text. Is this author telling a story or giving information? Explain. So you are going to write, the author is on this page. Okay, by the time the talking bus reached my school, my head was crammed full of all the things that had happened. When I got up this morning, little did I know that I would be attending Mrs. Park's birthday on the very bus she was arrested on. I can't wait to tell my class about this. I want you to fill this in. So the author is, we said what? Is telling a story. So if you aren't sure how to spell that, you can look right up here. Telling a story. I know this because, and then you can go from our discussion to finish that, okay?